Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of Techspert Talks. I'm Troy Rainey, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today's Techspert Talk session is Qlik Cloud Administration 101 with our own Umberto De Domenico. Umberto, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello guys, hello girls. Nice to be with you. My name is Umberto. I'm a technical adoption specialist based in Barcelona, Spain. Mainly I work with anything related to helping out people onboarding into Qlik Cloud.
Great. Well, today we're going to be looking at a lot of important settings in Qlik Cloud, how to manage users and groups and space and app management, as well as configuring subscriptions and alerts. And to get us started, Umberto, would you show us around and where to find things in the Qlik Cloud Analytics Hub?
Absolutely. This is the main window users get in. You may recall that the waffle menu used to be on the right-hand side. Now it has been moved on the left-hand side, and it gives us right away access to context. The analytic context is the standard one, but I can also have access to the administration, the management console.
And the sections you see in that waffle menu is dependent on what entitlement you have, right? You could see everything like in this demo, or it could be that you only see insights and analytics.
Exactly. It depends on the type of users.
Now I see that string of letters next to the waffle. Is that the tenant ID?
That's a tenant name.
Okay.
It's definitely an unfriendly name.
Yeah. How can we go about changing that to something that's a little nicer to look at?
We can go to the settings, and in here we can set up a different display name.
Okay.
The alias host name could be different from the display name, but our recommendation is to use the same one.
Right, so that's the actual URL that people will enter.
Yes, and it's better to use a more user-friendly name rather than the original one. Keep in mind that the alias host name is unique, so get the name you want for your organization.
If we need to find the original, how can we go about doing that?
So if you click on the profile name, then you have the About option. That pops up a window with all the information we are talking about.
Very cool. It's nice to have it all there collected. And I love that there's a copy to clipboard to make it easy to save.
And the recovery address is very important. Recovery address will allow the tenant admin to access regardless any login authentication issues.
That's great. Now, how can we start to connect our users to the tenant?
We have two ways. One is using an invite button to invite users by email. So here you can put any person you want. Usually organizations skip this process and set up an IdP, an identity provider.
Okay, where do we configure that?
By scrolling down on the left-hand side and click on Identity Provider.
Okay.
Create a new button where we can select the type of standard protocol. In our case, it's OIDC, which is the recommended one, but you can use others. The type of providers. If your provider is not listed in this pull-down menu, you can use generic. We're going to use the Azure ID.
Can we take a quick look at all those fields we have to configure?
Yes, and here is the endpoint URL coming from Azure.
Okay.
The client ID and the class secret.
All right.
We also need to specify the claims. The claims are the information that are sent from Azure to Qlik Cloud. The most important claim is the email address, because we authenticate users by using the email address. Set up the email as UPN, the user principal name available in Azure. We also have to go to the advanced options and make sure that the email or verified is overridden.
And why is that necessary?
Because Azure specifically does not send the email to the external application.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Azure and see what we're going to be importing.
Yes, we have to register an app. I've already done it, and this is Qlik Talk.
And from Azure's perspective, the application in this case is Qlik Cloud.
Exactly.
All right.
We need to make sure that the app has got the right redirect URI, which is actually the tenant URL. So in here, add the one we are using today.
Okay, and that's our original Qlik tenant ID there.
Important point, Troy. we cannot put the alias. We need to put the original host name.
Okay, so it's good we figured out where to find that information.
Yeah, click on Save.
Now that that's set up, what do we need from Azure?
Client ID, which is available in here.
Oh, there it is.
And inside the overview here, we have the endpoints.
All right, that was that first piece of information we needed.
The endpoint URL, this one. Okay, just copy and keep it in a safe place. And the secret ID. The client secret is this one. Has been already created by me, and I kept it in a safe place.
All right, now that we've saved all those values in a safe place, let's go back to Qlik Cloud and enter them in the configuration.
Yes, let's do so. It's going to be put in here. Then we have the client ID, and then we have the client secret. All the rest should be kept, except for the email input box. We already changed UPN.
Right.
Create, and that will initiate the validation process. Now log in by using one of the users in Azure, which is this one.
Okay, so that's your user account, but in Azure instead of the Qlik account.
Correct. Login was successful, so confirm. And now it's going to ask us, do you want to promote these users to tenant admin?
So that'll make this user a tenant admin.
It's always better to have the validation user as a tenant admin.
All right, activate it. So now Azure is the active identity provider for Qlik Cloud tenant. So what users do we have so far?
2 users now, the service account owner, and this is the tenant admin who has just been promoted.
All right.
In order for the groups to be passed through from Azure, we need to go to the settings and enable creation of groups.
So having that enabled will allow Qlik Cloud to recognize the groups that exist in the IdP, or in this case, Azure.
Yes.
So how do we actually get the users into the tenant?
When the user logs in, it will be automatically displayed in the all users list.
Oh, okay.
We have the pull down menu, which shows us we have the disable option when going here and disable, but you also have the provisioned. The provision is the mechanism used by SCIM to push all the users into Qlik Cloud.
Ah.
In that case, the users will be provisioned, but they will not be active. Then we've got the orphans. Orphan means that the user has got an IdP subject, but it does not have a user ID, or the other way around, depends.
Okay, if they're missing some information.
Correct. Requested have been sent an invitation, but they never logged in.
Okay. Can we take a look at what the user experiences when they actually log in?
Yes. For instance, we have Charlie Chaplin, and the user principal name, the UPN.
Oh, the UPN, right, the email. So we're logging in as a user in Azure.
Yeah. First of all, he sees nothing yet.
Yeah, there's no content yet.
But the workflow menu, he will not be able to see administration side.
Right, because he doesn't have admin rights on the tenant. Okay.
Correct.
That's nice to see.
Let's see what happens on the tenant admin.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
And dynamic entitlement is enabled by default, so he's automatically given professional entitlement.
Exactly. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Very cool.
If you want to go here, you can change the entitlement.
Yep. I see you can even edit the roles for the users.
Every role you can see here has to be specifically assigned. Even though you're an admin, you're not automatically assigned those roles.
All right, now that we have users, I feel like it's time for content. Let's assume we already have some apps created. How can we import those analytics apps to this tenant?
Okay, we can use the create option.
Okay, nice menu here.
So I want to upload a couple of apps and drag and drop.
Can you do multiple? Oh yeah, you can. That's great.
Yes.
And I see it's going to put it in your personal space, the only space we have at the moment.
Click on navigate to space afterwards, but doesn't really matter.
And there they are. Very nice.
Yes.
Those are our consumer apps. Are there any admin apps that are good to have on the tenant?
Oh yeah. There are a few apps which are warmly recommended by Qlik.
Okay.
We have a very good way to do that by using an automation.
Are there instructions for how to do that?
Yes. The article, so you can read carefully about it.
Very cool. So we've got very detailed steps to follow here. How do we get started?
We run it together.
Great.
In the automation section, create a new automation.
Yeah, there are a lot of really great templates here.
In our case, we're going to look for monitoring apps, and we
Oh,
see that we have Qlik monitoring apps installer. So
okay. So basically, with application automation, you've got your list of different blocks available on the left. It's kind of like your toolbox, the canvas in the middle, and the configuration settings on the right.
Yes, every time you select one block, you'll have the corresponding properties on the right-hand side.
Is there anything we need to configure here specifically?
We have to do is just to run it.
Okay, it's checking prerequisites and asking to add the developer role to this user.
Yes, there were some roles we could assign to the tenant admin. One of those was the developer role. The idea is that this automation will need to create API keys, and those API keys will be used by the apps to talk to our internal database.
Ah, all right.
And we say, yes, of course, please assign the developer role to this user.
To have those new permissions applied, it's necessary to log out and log back in again.
Yeah.
All right.
Along with the two apps we uploaded, we have a new item, which is the automation.
All right. Well, we'll be able to pick up where we left off.
Well, we'll have to run it again, and it will continue.
Ah, so there's another setting that's necessary to actually use the API keys in addition to the role.
Exactly. So let's say yes.
Okay, how often the API key gets renewed?
We use default one, 365. Now it's going to ask us which apps we want to install.
Wow, there's 5 of them.
There are 5. Now to create a share space and then a managed space for the published app or the monitoring apps.
Okay, actually, whatever you enter here, it will actually create a new space with that name.
Exactly. Generate API key automatically? Yes, submit it. Reload application post-install? Yes. Daily reload schedules? Yes. Timing?
Okay, so this is just kind of a review of all the settings we've gone through.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like it's finished.
Okay. And we have
Success.
go now back to the home.
Okay, we got some new things here. I noticed the icon for managed spaces.
Yes, the managed space has got the red icon.
Uh-huh.
We have the blue icon, which indicates share space. You can go to catalog and filter out personal, monitoring apps, and admin.
Can you talk quickly the difference between these different types of spaces?
Yes, the share spaces are the one for co-development.
Okay, so it's a good collaborative workspace.
The managed space instead are used by the business users, so it's for consumption, really.
What is the data space? That's new to me.
The data space is used by the data integration. It's part of Qlik Cloud, which allows us to move data, transform data with different tools.
Now that we've got the spaces, how do we schedule reloads for these apps?
The reloads can be done by select Other Reload Now, which is a manual instant reload, or by using the reload schedule. The reload schedule allows us to create a schedule.
Okay.
I want to show you also an alternative way using an automation. I have the create automation button as before. And one of the templates available is reload apps in parallel. I click on it. This app allows us to reload up to 3 apps in one go.
Okay, and that'll basically have all those apps reloading at the same time.
Right. With the do reload block, set up the app ID, click on the do lookup and look for the name of the app.
Okay, so that's the app name, and that long string, is that the app ID?
Yes, it is.
And we just need to fill out every setting that has that little red asterisk, is that right?
That's a mandatory field. The other
Mandatory,
one is
okay.
optional. This is going to be the human capital management. For the third reload, we don't have any app, so I'm going to disable it, okay?
So it'll kind of hop over that block.
Yes. Wait for reloads to complete. The third one, as I said, is not needed, so I'm going to just remove it, save it, and run it.
You've triggered this automation to reload those 2 apps at the same time. How do we schedule it?
Then we go to the start block and set up the schedule option in the pull-down menu.
A lot of detailed scheduling options here.
Here we can go down to every 30 seconds and save it, and that will run when time comes.
Okay. How do we set up the spaces for an appropriate workflow for those apps?
So I'm going to go here and create a new space. I'm going to call this space 1, and it's going to be a share space. So
All right.
click on create. And I'm also going to create a second space. Space 2 is a managed space. So now we have space 1 and space 2, but we also have in the personal spaces these two apps. With the 3 dots, you can move apps from personal space to a share space or from a share space to another share space. But if I want to put an app into a managed space, I have to publish it.
And that publishes a copy of the app, right?
Yes, that creates a copy. So
okay.
First of all, let me move to space 1.
Okay.
And the icon has changed. The app is literally moved.
Okay. Can we publish the human capital management app?
Yes. Into a managed space, only managed space can be the published target.
Right.
And then if I go to space 2, this is the human capital management. But if I go to the personal space, the human capital management is still there. As you said, Troy, when we publish, we make a copy of the original app.
If you now move this app in the personal space to a shared space, will it break that connection with the managed app?
No, it will not. We can move it to space 1 because we want other developers to join the development of that app. So now in the space 1, we have 2 apps, and can be again published. And it's going to say, do you want me to publish in this space?
And that will kind of just overwrite the original.
Yes, we can override the original in terms of charts, but we can also include the data.
How do we adjust the permissions of these spaces so that users, when they join the tenant, automatically see what they're supposed to?
Very important point. Let's go back to the administration side and let's explore the users we have currently. We have Charlie Chaplin and Umberto De Domenico, the tenant admin. If we go to spaces, let's change the members of this space.
Okay.
Add new members, and for instance, Charlie Chaplin.
And his rights are view. What roles can be applied?
We just given Charlie Chaplin can view permissions. He's a professional, so let's look at this column.
Okay.
He should be able to open apps, to create private bookmarks, create snapshot stories, view notes, edit notes, export data in charts. And let's explore what the user can do.
Okay, so we're logged in as Charlie Chaplin.
First of all, he's unable to create a sheet. It should have a button here, but it doesn't.
Yeah, that's correct.
We don't have the edit sheet button.
Okay, so he's purely a consumer. He's not a developer at this point.
Yes, he can, however, do stuff like download.
That's nice.
He can take snapshots.
Nice.
And also he can select stuff.
Yeah, and I remember on the list of things in that chart was creating bookmarks.
But he's unable to publish it.
Okay, so it's just his own private bookmark.
Right.
What will it look like if we give Charlie a different role level? Okay, so we're logged in looking at spaces as the administrator.
And then in here we have the option of can edit data and apps, can edit. I recommend to use the can edit data in apps, which is a more powerful one.
Okay. So it's one step above can edit because he actually can reload in addition to creating content.
Yeah.
So once we get logged back in with the can edit data in apps, what different things will we be able to do?
Well, we will be able to open the data model viewer, create private sheets, move sheet stories and bookmark from private to public, open the data manager, load editor for the reloading. But the most interesting part is that we will be able to edit the script if not owner.
And in this case, that's the situation because Charlie did not create this app.
Right. Yeah.
What's the difference between can manage and can edit?
That's a very interesting point. Good question, Troy. The reason is not related to what you can do inside the apps. It's about what you can do inside the share space.
Okay, so this is a different chart, but related to spaces.
Right. And basically, the main difference are this one, change naming roles for this space, delete this
Delete the
space,
space, yeah.
and move data connections.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Shall we see how things have changed?
Yes.
Oh, you're right. He's got a create new sheet button there.
Yes, you can create a new sheet. And if I go to the pull-down menu, I have visibility of the data manager, data load editor, data model viewer.
Very cool.
We are in a shared space. If I click on the data load editor, I'm gonna set up a new variable, okay?
Okay.
Meanwhile, another user will work on the same app.
Ah, it gives you a little warning.
Yes, there is a warning, say, challenge Chaplin to modify the script. The script will be read only until they are done or timeout.
Yeah, that's really cool to see that demonstrated. It's nice that it tells you who is working on it as well, so you could reach out to them and coordinate a
Right.
little bit better. Now, in Azure, Charlie Chaplin is a part of a group. Can we apply permissions like these to groups of users?
Yes, Charlie Chaplin is part of this group one, along with Shadley Theron and Umberto De Domenico.
Okay.
If we log back into the management console in Qlik Cloud, we don't see groups. Even though Charlie Chaplin belongs to the group, and technically we have already brought the group, in order to be able to see the groups, we need to assign permission for that group. If we go to Spaces and select Space 1, Manage Members, Add Members, the groups are there.
Now, Charlie's only part of Group 1. Are we seeing Group 1 and Group 2 because Umberto's a member of both groups?
Exactly. Umberto belongs to Group 1 and Group 2. Select one group, add. Can view, the Group 1 users can view, but Charlie Chaplin's got more permissions. Which one will apply?
I mean, it's telling us right now he's got can view plus another. So it sounds to me like he will get the additional rights.
Yes, because in Qlik, the less restricted permission apply.
Okay, that's good to know. Back to an app. How can users subscribe to a specific visualization to stay updated?
When you're interested in any chart and you would like to subscribe to that chart and to make sure that you get updates on it, for instance, let's pick up this one, right click on subscribe. That will send you an email with PDF attachment.
It looks like we can't because we haven't set up the email yet. Can you quickly show us how to configure the SMTP server settings?
Let me show you where we do that. We go to the settings where we can indicate which SMTP server should be used. SMTP. And for the purpose of this activity, I have set up an account with SendGrid.
Okay.
We have article on how to set this up.
And I'll definitely include the link to that article about how to configure this.
I get the API key, which is already previously set up. Save it.
So now that we've configured the SMTP email server, we can actually do subscriptions.
Yes, we can subscribe to any chart, objects inside apps, and also we can send alerts.
Can you show us how to set up alerts?
Yes, the alerts are very similar to subscription, but they are triggered by special conditions. So create a new alert. And I can say which KPI I'm interested in. For instance, I can remove this one, focus just on the salary, displayed by employee name, and say next. Let me know if it gets bigger than
1 million. Okay.
So the user will be notified on email about this alert. Done. The alerts, like any other activity, can be explored inside the analytic context in here.
Okay.
To recap, as a tenant admin, you need to be very careful in how you plan and structure your permission inside your spaces. And also make sure that you consider any possible situations related to the authentication mechanism. Okay.
Okay. Now it's time for Q&A. Please submit your questions to the Q&A panel on the left-hand side of your On24 console. We've already got several questions that have come in, so I'll just read them from the top. First question, can you set up reports with an automation?
Oh, yes. If we go to automation, then create an automation. In here, we have plenty of templates.
Yeah, can we take a look at the details of one just to see what's possible?
It will allow us to create a report to the customers by email, a report of an entire app or specific sheets.
It's cool how you see we have blocks for creating the report, generating the report, sending emails. Great. Well, it's nice to see that that's possible, so appreciate that. Okay. Next question. How can we dynamically assign licenses to the tenant? So I guess we're talking about entitlements there. Can we review the settings for that?
Yes, we can go to administration as a tenant admin, to the settings. Users get a professional entitlement or an analyzer entitlement.
Okay.
In our case, by default, is a professional, but you can also switch or disable completely, or you can tune it the way you want. This is what we are seeing in a user-based model, but we also have a capacity model.
What would be the difference between the user-based model and the capacity-based model?
From the entitlement perspective, every user by default is basic user, whereas the full users have to be assigned specifically. They will become what we call in the user model professional users. They have more or less the same power, same permissions.
That's kind of like for developers and administrators.
Yes. Everything is based on the amount of actions we do, reports, automations.
Okay, so it's more about the user activity.
Right. The best way to answer this question in more detail is to contact your account manager.
Next question. For those coming from Qlik Sense Enterprise on Windows, is there something similar to security rules for dynamic entitlement assignment beyond what we've seen so far?
The best approach is to use automations. With the automation, we can refine how we assign professional analyzer entitlements, but also space permissions and any kind of permission we want to handle.
Okay, so that can be set up with automations. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Next question. What is the best practice for monitoring app reloads?
Yeah, we just loaded a few apps dedicated for the tenant admins. One of those is called Reload Analyzer. That's the best app. How your reloads work and in terms of space, in terms of apps, errors.
All right, next question. What's your recommendation when it comes to owners of content, spaces, automations, etc.? Should the service account owner be owners of everything?
Well, not really. The idea is to have different users attending different jobs and roles. In the users section in here, we have different type of security roles. It's very important to make sure that you plan who should be able to do what and assign correctly the permissions to those people or to those groups.
Great. Next question. How much of the Qlik Cloud user interface can be locked down or hidden from a stakeholder for the simplest possible user interface?
I would say all of it or none. Depends on the way you want to see it. If you want to hide something or modify the way you want it, you should go for a mashup approach.
Okay, that's just sort of embedding certain aspects into a different site.
Yeah.
The next question, can we use multiple IdPs or identity providers at once?
No, you need to use one IdP only. Set up many, then you disable one and you activate the other one.
Right, so only one active at a time.
Yes.
Can you talk more about the SCIM tool? You mentioned that briefly about how to kind of push users into the administration section before they actually log in.
SCIM is a protocol, stands for System for Cross-Domain Identity Management. It's used in Azure to push the information rather than waiting for the users to log in. This way, we have all users imported into our Qlik Cloud even before they log in. Also, you can have visibility of the groups related to those users.
All right, great. And I believe we can provide a link to where people can find some more information along with the recording. So keep an eye out for that. Next question. Where can we find that chart that you showed with all the different roles and permissions?
On the online help, we have a very good, even more granular definition of the permissions you can set up for each space and users.
Help.qlik.com, is that the resource?
Yes.
Great. Next question. Can variables be used with alerts? We saw alerts
Yes.
there had some conditions you could set up.
Yes. In the condition you set up, we can include a variable to define what would trigger the alert. Yes.
Okay. That's good to know that that works. Next question. Just got a few more have come in here, see if we can get through them all.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we learn how to create a new automation that's not from a template? So you showed us some templates, but is it possible to just create anything?
Well, of course, we have plenty of information and technical article in our cloud. The online help is fundamental. There's a lot in it. However, after reading, my recommendation is to go and play a little bit by creating some simple automation by using the blocks available on the asset panel. Keep in mind, it's very similar to Scratch. If you know what your kids are doing when they learn programming, it's very similar.
Great. And last question we have time for today. What is your recommendation for keeping personal sheets and items when migrating to the cloud from an on-prem installation?
The mechanism is very simple, but at the same time, it's complicated to make it done, but it can be done. We do it. The idea is to get all the personal sheets published, then the app will be exported, imported into cloud, and from there, a mapping will need to be done between each sheet and the previous user and the new user. My recommendation is to talk to PS, professional services, and they'll be able to make it done for you.
That's good advice. And we had a recent Techspert talk where we went through that whole process of migrating to Qlik Cloud from QlikSense client managed. We had a couple skilled people from professional services walk through that. So I'll include the recording as well. Umberto, thank you so much for today and all the stuff you've gone through and showed off how Qlik Cloud works and all the important settings there for managing users and spaces. I think this will be a really valuable asset for people going forward.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you all for attending. I hope it's going to be useful. And should you have any further questions or doubts, please look at the Qlik community. There are plenty of people, great people out there with great experience who may be able to help you. And also we have excellent articles.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this session. And special thanks to Umberto for presenting. We always appreciate getting experts like Umberto to share with us. Here's our legal disclaimer. And thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day.